Hey everyone, how's it going? I wanted to share with you another video. I've had a lot of questions about restrictive diets. What do they mean? Why can they be harmful? You'll hear me talk a lot about how I can help you lose weight quickly without following a restrictive diet. But why are they so harmful? And what do I mean by restrictive diets? So let's dive into that today. First of all, let's look at some examples of what we mean by restrictive diets. And so I'm sure that you've heard, if not already tried to follow, the keto diet, which is a diet where you cut out a lot of carbs from your diet so that you're only eating specific food groups. So with these restrictive diets, they either focus on cutting out a specific food group or focusing on only one food group that you can eat, basically going on extreme calorie deficit. You've probably also heard of things like the 28-day smoothie plan. I put them in quotations there. There's many different versions of it. So 21-day detox, your 28-day smoothie detox, those kind of things. Those are designed to help you get really fast results quickly. So you'll see that the campaigns that go with those are getting your beach body, things like that. But they're designed to help you get quick weight loss results super fast so that you can enjoy a period of time. They're not designed for you to think about the future. They're not caring about what your weight or your health will look like in 6 months' time or a year. They're caring about a quick, easy fix now that's not going to be permanent. And we also have your other extreme calorie deficit diets. So this may include extreme fasting, so beyond intermittent fasting into not eating for a day or eating extremely small amounts of food that can leave you really feeling, starving, not having enough energy. So those are some of the examples of restrictive diets. And as I mentioned, they are really based on cutting out food groups or only focusing on one food group or cutting out calories to an extreme level. So what actually is the problem with doing this? If it sounds like they help you lose weight quickly, what's the problem, right? Well, the problem is, as you can see here, they can do damage not only to your physical health, but also to your mental health. And one thing I really wanted to highlight here is that there can be just as many risks to mental health as there can be to physical health. And you can end up seriously damaging both if you're following these ultra-restrictive diets for any period of time. So let's look first of all at the physical health deficit. Let's start with, as you can see here, your nutrition deficit. So it makes sense that when you're cutting out whole food groups, that you're also cutting out all the things that come with those groups. And every food group has benefits. It has vitamins and minerals and things that you need to actually be able to be healthy and avoid health issues. So if you're cutting out an entire food group or you're restricting your diet to such a point where you're not taking in enough of those vitamins and minerals, then you are going to suffer from nutrition deficit. And what this can do is it can lead to issues with blood sugar. So it can leave you feeling extremely tired. It can leave you with no energy whatsoever. And it can also then lead to further complications that can result in things like type 2 diabetes. Now you have your metabolic slowdown. So what this means is with your metabolism, if you restrict your diet, right down by removing food groups or by not taking in enough calories, your body needs to get the energy from elsewhere. So what it will do is it will slow down your metabolism in order to conserve the energy, to allow you to have enough energy that you need to get through the day without causing health issues. What your body will do is it will try and help you by conserving the small amount of calories that you're taking in. A great example is when you cut out carbs. Carbs are one of the most important sources of energy that you can have. So by using carbs on a regular basis, if you think about it, athletes, they carb up before they go for a run. You'll hear about marathon runners carbo loading because they need those carbohydrates that provide a slow release of energy and sugars across their exercise. If they cut that out completely, they don't have that energy release. So what the body does is it finds a way to give you that by slowing down your metabolism and trying to make the most out of the calories that it's got. Now, when you go back to a normal diet, so let's say you finished your 28-day smoothie plan and now it's time to go back to regular eating, your metabolism is slowed down. So when you increase those calories, you're now going to suffer a rapid weight gain. That's why we have things like, you'll hear the term, the yo-yo diet. So things like the smoothie plan are a great example of those yo-yo diets because you will lose weight very quickly and very dramatically, but because you'll have that metabolic slowdown, what will happen when you go back to the end of the 28 days and go back to your regular eating, not only will you put the weight back on, but you'll put on additional weight because your body doesn't know how to act with all of those calories coming in. The metabolism is slowed. And it takes a long time to get that metabolism increased back up again. So when you suddenly start putting regular food back into your body is still trying to conserve those calories and it's still trying to make the most of them. And now there's too many calories, it converts to fat and you start to get rapid weight gain. out entire food groups. This can involve cutting out proteins, it can involve cutting out carbs, or it can involve cutting out any other part of the food groups. What this can also lead to is muscle loss. If you think proteins are really important to synthesize muscle, so if you're cutting those out, you're not going to be able to build muscle, and trying to do a workout at the gym with no proteins is really not a good idea at all, because you really need that to be able to build any type of muscle. Also, if you are cutting out things like calcium, which is just a natural effect of if you're cutting out large parts of your diet, if you're only eating smoothies, you're not getting the dairy products that you need, you're not getting your calcium that you need for bones and teeth, then what that's going to do is lead to possible bone density issues as well. And all of these things, by putting your body through these kind of extreme conditions, by possibly only eating smoothies for a day or not eating at all for a day, can also cause gastrointestinal issues as well, which can lead to just day-to-day complications that nobody wants to go through. So let's talk about mental health. And one thing that's very often overlooked when we talk about restrictive diets or any kind of diet or food discussions is we don't talk about how it affects us emotionally. There's a huge emotional attachment to eating. People use eating as a comfort. Sometimes that can lead to binge eating or eating the wrong foods, but sometimes it can just be a daily enjoyment. It can be part of your social life. It has a huge connection to who we are and how we go about our day-to-day. So when we look at social skill damage, that's a hugely important part. When you think about how many times we use food as a connecting point to other people. We eat foods from different restaurants, from different cultures, in order to be able to discover new things, to be able to connect, to go out with friends and have a new experience. And all of this gives us positive energy and positive mental health. So when you take that away, you're talking about immediately a social isolation. Let's say that somebody wants to go out in a new restaurant and try something that you've never tried before, and you don't want to be restricted by the menu, and they invite you out for food, and you're currently on your 28-day smoothie plan, and you're not allowed to have that, or you're not allowed to have certain foods and this and that. What that can lead you to is to not go. And it sounds very simple. It just sounds like, well, you can miss that meal and you can carry on your diet and you can carry on losing weight. But that's overlooking the actual mental health side of things. And that can lead to, feelings of loneliness. It can lead to depression, and it can make you feel very isolated. We've just been through a pandemic where people have been very isolated. So who wants to go through a situation where they now can't go to the restaurant of their choice? They can't do what they want to do because they have to isolate themselves from society because they can only eat certain foods. Now, that can then also lead to difficulties with relationships and friendships. If you're in a relationship with somebody, are they supportive of that diet that you're going through? Hopefully, but it doesn't mean that it won't put a strain on it. It doesn't mean that it won't be difficult. Unless you're both going through the diet together and there's absolute full support, then if one of you is trying to eat a 28-day smoothie plan and the other one is trying to eat burger and fries every day, it can make it very difficult. Firstly, it can make it difficult just from a perspective of trying to eat different meals together, may cause arguments, it may cause distress in the relationship, may ultimately cause relationship breakdowns. But secondly, if somebody else is in the house and they've got tempting foods all the time, it can just make it damn difficult to follow this diet when you haven't got someone that's following it with you. And that person may not need in any way to be dieting. So if they're going on to a restrictive diet with you, and they definitely don't need to do that, let's say they're super fit, then they could have significant health issues as well. And you could be putting somebody else's health at risk if you're taking them through a restrictive diet with you. Now, these things, as I mentioned, they lead to loneliness, depression, isolation, and all of this can cause long-term and permanent psychological damage. So when you think about the fact all of this is connected, you've got physical health issues coming in here, such as diabetes and heart issues and bone density loss and all those, horrible, scary things. And if those are coming in, those are also going to affect your mental health because it's a change to your life. It's going to prevent you from being able to do these things. So all of these things are explicitly connected to each other. And so if you now start to suffer problems in your relationships, depression, as well as diabetes and heart issues and all of these things, and these things start to come in over time. Let's say you're following the keto diet for the next year, and over that year, all of these things will start to come in. And then that will lead you, in some cases, to feeling those emotions that can be really dark. And I'm not trying to make light of this. I'm not trying to make it dramatic, but I have had clients that have gone through really extreme restrictive diets, and it's given them so much damage to both their physical and their mental health that they've mentioned to me, I don't want to do this anymore. And they're not talking about the diet. They're talking about suicidal thoughts. They're talking about things that are a lot darker. These restrictive diets can put so much pressure on every part of your life and every part of your health that they can lead to suicidal thoughts. And that can, going through these restrictive diets, you can do so much damage to your physical health that can cause life-altering diagnoses that can lead directly to loss of life, or they could lead to depression and feelings of isolation and loneliness that can then in turn lead to another way of loss of life. And both of these things are just as important to think about when we talk about restrictive diets. So if you have questions, I know this is a very simple, brief introduction to all of these topics. So if you have questions, please DM me. Please feel free to leave comments. I'm happy to discuss anything that you want to know about restrictive diets. And if you want to know how you can effectively lose weight safely and lose 20 pounds or more over the next 90 days without following any of these restrictive diets, being able to enjoy the food that you're eating, being able to lose weight naturally and permanently, and not following any of these fads or gimmicks that will essentially end up with you yo-yoing your diets back. If you want that, then send me a message, get in touch with me, book a call. The link is below. Let's get you started. Let's get you losing weight, get to where you want to be, and do it in a safe and effective way that allows you to keep the weight off permanently. That's all from me today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.